Hi everybody, my name is Caitlin Johansson.
And my name is Penelope Storm.
We decided to focus on narrative therapy. Narrative therapy is a therapeutic technique. It values the client's story, their interpretation of their own story, and how they hear and interpret the stories that others tell about them. Narrative therapy's goal is to help the client rewrite their story by separating the problem from the person and helping the client to recognize and draw from points of strength in their own story. There's some skills that are used with narrative therapy. Aside from typical interviewing techniques that might be found in clinical practice, it also includes the use of empathy, reframing, reflection, and open-ended questions, as well as active listening. That's a very important aspect to narrative therapy.
In narrative therapy, the clinician is tasked with analyzing the client's description of their past and present functioning through their storytelling by looking for points of strength where the client actually navigated a difficult time well and really managed a problem. So the clinician is helping the client to rewrite that story from a strengths perspective, separating the person from the problem. Actually, a common saying in narrative therapy is, the person isn't the problem is the problem. Techniques used include externalizing and naming the problem, letter writing, storytelling, and self-talk, which comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. And the treatment approach is very open-ended and avoids labels or diagnoses. So the DSM is not used in narrative therapy at all. Rather, other models and techniques are utilized. Narrative therapy really focuses on a trauma-informed approach, and it is client-led through that storytelling format.
So within our first session, you're going to see me as the helper and Penelope as the client. Hi Lynn, how are you?
Hi. I don't know what I am right now.
Okay, well that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you start by telling me what brought you in today?
I've just been really overwhelmed lately. I'm going through a divorce, and so, the courts want everybody to do co-parenting classes and therapy and all of these different things, and really, I feel overwhelmed right now. My to-do lists are huge. I have so much going on. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping to kind of figure out maybe a better way of tackling it all, because it feels like there's just so much going on.
Okay. So you're going through a recent divorce.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big adjustment.
It is. I mean, we're moving, and I've got 2 kids, and so I have to get them switched over to a new school district and enrolled in a new school, and I've got to set up the new house, and then there's just all of these things that, I guess we had established and running for so long, I didn't really think about like how hard it is to like reboot everything.
Sure.
Trying to figure out insurance and utilities and, just like everything has to be reset, bank accounts, and from the time I get up in the morning to the end of the day, I'm writing to-do lists, and I'm trying to check off to-do lists, and I've got Post-it notes stuck on doors so I see them before I leave the house, and it's just a lot.
It sounds like you're pretty busy. I'm getting the gist there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very, very busy.
So,
Yeah.
With that being said, do you have any time to maybe slow down and think about how you're feeling about these things? About your busyness or anything else?
No, I haven't slowed down. I think because maybe when I slow down, I get overwhelmed in a different way. I kind of get overwhelmed with the emotional side of it all.
Okay.
And I haven't really wanted to go there because I worry that I won't be able to function. You know, that I'll let something slip through the cracks, or I won't get all those to-do things done if I slow down and get overwhelmed with, like, I don't know, just the emotions of it all. Just
Okay.
mm-hmm.
So tell me if I'm hearing you right. Are you saying that acknowledging your emotions prohibits you from being productive?
Yeah, I guess I kind of am saying that because I don't know, I just, when I am not as busy, or if I start to, like, slow down, I actually get really sad about how much everything is changing and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, I don't know, it's like I said, it's just kind of an overwhelming sadness. It's overwhelming in a different way than all the tasks are. And yeah, and I slow down, and it's hard to go through that kind of mourning process.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't allowed myself, I guess, to do that because, well, because not only am I worried about everything else that's going on, but I worry about my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry about them seeing me be that sad.
Okay. So you're mentioning feeling and being sad,
Mm-hmm.
and you're also mentioning mourning. Do you associate the two, being sad with mourning?
Mm-hmm. I do. I remember when my grandma kind of went through that whole mourning process. I mean, her situation was different. It was when my grandpa passed away. And she's old world, so she actually wore black and
Okay.
just kind of shut everything down for a while. And
Okay.
she just went into this really deep mourning, this very introspective time. And sometimes she'd just sit in the garden and cry, or, she just spent like 3 months, really mourning my grandpa before she actually started to function again.
Okay.
And so I think I'm scared to touch that because I don't have 3 months to stop functioning for, like, my kids and for what we need to do to get to, kind of that next phase in our life.
Sure. Do you think it was beneficial for your grandmother to go through that?
I think it, well, yeah, I do. I think it was because she really came through the other side of that, like being able to remember the good times with my grandpa and being able to celebrate his life kind of after she just really let all that sadness out. And I thought that was really a beautiful thing, like how she always after that didn't focus on the sadness, but she really focused on, like, what made her love him and all the things that she loved about him, and just being able to focus on the good stories, after that.
Okay. Sounds like it was a strength for her. Do you think it could be beneficial for you to mourn, or are you seeing that as a problem?
You know, I think originally I really was looking at it as a problem. I think I was looking at it as like a sign of weakness or avoidance of like all the other stuff that I need to do. But now, when you say it that way, like, it makes me kind of think of it as something that could maybe be really good, because maybe when I come through the other side of allowing myself to feel that mourning and that sadness, maybe I'd be able to focus on some of the good things about our family still, and talk about the good stories and the good things with my kids.
Okay.
You know, and not just avoid like thinking or talking about our life pre-divorce, post-divorce.
Sure.
You know, I don't want to take away like that whole time in my kid's life from them just because I'm avoiding something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I see what you're saying, and I hear that. And so I want to ask, you know, you came to me today because you're feeling overwhelmed with a lot of your tasks and the changes that are happening. But if we were to name this problem, this presenting issue that you're coming in here with, I'm hearing a lot of words, things like weakness or sadness, mourning, you know, and you're talking about your kids and the effects that this change has had on them. So if you were to name, and I know this might be a little bit of a weird thing to do, but if you were to name this problem, what would you call it?
I think it really isn't being overwhelmed with everything I have to do. I think it's trying to hold back that period of mourning that has been overwhelming. I think that has been what has kind of made everything else feel sort of insurmountable.
Okay.
So I would maybe say that the problem is that I haven't mourned. I haven't allowed myself to have that catharsis, that, you know, time yet. You know, just trying to be super mom and do kind of all of these other things. I haven't had time to mourn, and tamping that down, you know, holding that back is a lot of work. It probably has been a big factor of what has made all that other stuff feel like so much, you know, like so overwhelming.
Sure.
So I would call it mourning.
Call it mourning. You can name it mourning. Okay. I think often as women and sometimes as mothers, we get caught up with the tasks of life, you know, and so this might be a way that you're able to cope, to check things off your list, have some control. So I wonder, what would it look like for you? What would your life look like if you were to allow mourning into your life? I think things would slow down for a minute, and it actually could be really good for my kids to slow down for a minute. And maybe by pushing through myself, I'm kind of not letting them have that time to mourn either, you know?
maybe by not acknowledging it myself, I'm wondering if I've taken that away from them. So maybe we need to have that time.
Okay. I think that's a great idea. If you think that's a great idea, then let's roll with it. Okay?
Yeah.
So, how would you feel about writing a letter? Sometimes letters can help us to get things off of our chest, to communicate in a clear way. And I know that you've said your children might be struggling to mourn as well. Would you feel comfortable writing a letter to your kids to communicate that maybe you've been pushing mourning aside, but that you might be ready to let it into your lives?
Yeah, I would be willing to do that. I think that might be a good way to kind of start the conversation with them and describe how I'm feeling.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that could be very beneficial for you. So let's focus on that going forward,
Okay.
and then we can discuss how that goes and discuss the effects that it had on you and your kids.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. In this portion of the video, I'll play the clinician and Katie will be the client. She is actually going to be portraying Summer, the daughter of the previous client, whose parents have just gotten a divorce. Hi, Summer. Thanks for coming in today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working together. And I was hoping it'd be okay if I just took a few notes while we talk, just to make sure I get things right.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. So what would you like to talk about today?
So my parents recently got a divorce, and I'm just having a little bit of trouble adjusting. It's a new neighborhood. I moved away from all of my friends that I knew. I don't feel like my parents considered my brother and I, like, we knew the divorce was happening, but it wasn't really, like, up to us what happened after the divorce.
So that had to have been really challenging, because if I'm hearing you right, you're saying you didn't feel like you had any control in the situation at all, and that everything is really new. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The control part, for sure.
Yeah. So if you felt like you didn't have that control, we're going to put that down, because that was a word that you kind of picked up on.
Yeah.
And that there was a lot new, right?
Yeah. Just like 2 new houses, 2 new neighborhoods. I still go to the same school, but my mom is so busy, having to restart.
Yeah.
And my dad, like, he works a lot. So, like, me and my little brother, it's kind of just us, and so I don't know. My parents were so happy before. Like, I thought things were pretty good. I guess they kind of hid their problems from us, but it just sucks.
Yeah. Sucks is a really descriptive word. It's a really descriptive word. When something is just kind of all around terrible, it sucks, doesn't it? Yeah. So, and if you didn't see it coming, is that what I heard? It was unexpected, I guess. Unexpected.
I didn't know what to expect either.
Yeah. So it was unexpected, and then you didn't know what to expect. So, what would you say is like really driving you now to talk about this and to try and understand, what's happening in your family more? Do you think that there's a certain problem that is at the heart of all of this?
I hadn't thought about it like that. And I would never tell my parents this. I would never tell my mom this because I don't really like being vulnerable. But part of me just feels like they so quickly threw away the marriage. Like, I feel like they just didn't try super hard. And so it makes me think, like, if they can do that to each other, like, are me and my little brother just, like, disposable? Like, are we that valued? Like, if they didn't really consider us, like, I don't really feel heard. I'm afraid. I guess I'm afraid.
Afraid. Can you describe that a little more? Like, what are some other words that you'd use to say, this is what afraid means to me in this situation?
I guess I'm just afraid my parents are gonna, like, abandon me. Like, they abandoned each other, like, and in the midst of everything, in the midst of all the chaos and the moving and my mom being busy and my dad working, like, did they forget about me? Did they forget about my brother? Like, I think, like, I'm just afraid of being abandoned, maybe. I don't know.
So that's a really descriptive word.
Yeah.
If we, we're looking at what you had just said, that your parents were so busy, and they're so busy now, that it feels to you like they've just moved on.
Yeah.
And if they can, okay. Yeah, so they're so busy and they've just moved on that maybe they could do that with you and your brother too, that you might be abandoned. That's a really, like, tough thing.
I know they wouldn't just, like, give me up for adoption or anything, you know?
Yeah,
but, like, it feels like I might be forgotten, you
Yeah.
know, when, like, we're not as important. And so, like, maybe I wasn't, like, told to go live on my own, but in a way I feel left alone and abandoned.
So you said you don't feel like they would just ask you to move out. Do you think that feeling of abandonment actually comes because maybe they're so busy that you haven't had a chance to talk about your emotions? Do you feel like maybe we could describe the problem, or would you describe the problem? I should ask. This is what we're trying to find is, would you describe the problem as emotional abandonment, that they've just kind of left you floundering because they're so busy?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I think. And I like how you describe that, like, emotional abandonment. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay. So feeling emotionally abandoned is your problem. That's what you're gonna name this problem that we're gonna try and work through and find some ways to deal with together.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Truly.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it, but
yeah. Well, I'll be the note taker.
Okay.
And I want you to maybe tell me a couple of ways that you think you could describe this emotional abandonment to your mom or your dad. Like, how do you think you would describe this to your parents?
Just like words or like
Whatever works for you. Like,
descriptions. Emotional abandonment. I'm feeling forgotten.
Feeling forgotten. Okay.
Left behind. Unimportant.
Unimportant. Oh, yeah.
Like I feel like I know they're struggling on their own, and I get that. It just seems like right now, like mine and my brother's feelings and like our grief and our our emotions aren't being considered, and like we're going through this on our own, and like I thought I was just angry, but I'm really kind of upset and sad, and and so like we're feeling all these things, and our parents are just going on with life. So unimportant. And
I also heard consideration in there. I think feeling that they have consideration for you guys. You think that would, if they really showed that consideration, do you think that would help you not have this problem, this feeling of emotional abandonment?
Yeah, I mean, like the divorce just happened and we didn't really talk about it, like it was just kind of like a decision. And then it wasn't like, what do y'all think, or what are your feelings towards this? What do you, like considering like where we're coming from. And I get it. Maybe they're just too distracted to like realize it, but we're their kids, and I don't know.
So we covered a lot of bases there. You brought up feeling forgotten and left behind and unimportant. Those are really good descriptors of feeling emotionally abandoned. Yeah, and then you also talked about consideration and wanting to have that acknowledgement of your grief and your anger and your emotions, and having that time to feel those emotions with your parents, right? Yeah.
I just don't know how to tell them that, like that's so hard. I can't just say to them like, I feel emotionally abandoned. They're not going to know what that means, or they're going to get like upset even more. They already have enough on their plate.
They do, but I also don't think that parents would ever not want to hear from their kids, right? Have you in the past had a hard time,
communicating?
Communicating and sharing with your folks?
I mean, they've always been pretty considerate in a way. It's just this one occasion that seems to be distracting for them,
Yeah. Well, this is a big thing for everybody, right? Yeah. So something that I might suggest, want to see how you feel about it, would be putting it into a letter. Sometimes when we put things into a letter, we're able to get that complete thought out. And then when we ask that other person to read that, they have to kind of work through that complete thought before responding, before having a conversation about it. Do you think that might be a good way to broach this?
Yeah, feeling? Like would I write it to both of my parents, or like one for each, or?
Well, what do you want to do? What do you think would be
well, I guess since
easiest?
They're divorced, or getting divorced, it's so weird. I guess like they probably shouldn't be together in the same room, and it might be hard. I guess I could maybe write one to both of them.
Right, a letter for each? Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that could probably work.
I think that sounds like a really great idea, because you might also have a little bit different thing that you want to say to each parent.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. And I mean,
Mhm.
it's in different ways. Like my dad's work and my mom's just busy, you know, and so like
Mhm.
it's kind of different emotions for each one, I guess.
Yeah, of, being able to talk to them and being able to really express
Yeah.
this is what's happening, because you're in the two households now, and those two households are different, but you're still feeling that same problem, that sense of kind of emotional abandonment in each.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm. So, if you're willing, let's
Yeah.
work on those two letters.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I think we can do that.
Okay, that sounds like a good starting point. Let's get some of these feelings, out and open for discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.